I want to talk about reparations, right? There are a plethora of issues I have with the current arguments I hear about reparations. I recently watched the emergence of the FBA. That's the proper term, right?
Yeah,
FBA.
they call it Foundation of Black America.
All right. But the biggest issue there doesn't seem to be, they don't seem to have a comprehensive plan that will result in long-term benefits instead of a one-time payment, right? This big issue I have with this one-time payment is, one, who will receive the payment, and also the person receiving the payment, are they educated and trained on what to do with the payment so they just don't give back the money and end up in the same position? You know, so I know you're more versed in this than me. So is there a comprehensive plan? And what I mean by a comprehensive plan is in regards to tax breaks, you know, assistance with health care, assistance with student loans, assistance with mortgage loans, tax breaks on property taxes, that type of thing. Is that the argument, or are people really just arguing for a payment?
Well, glad you brought that up. Well, when the Japanese were put in the internment camp here in the United States of America, Ronald Reagan instituted a reparations payment of $20,000 to the Japanese people. And nobody said, did they have education? What's the comprehensive plan? Is it going to be some tax breaks? Is it going to be some student loans? Only when it comes to our people receiving our just due. We have had millions of acres of land stolen from us, not lost because we didn't work hard. We have inventions we have created we could not patent. Our labor of slavery in this country that goes up to about $17 trillion. Why is it that we got to have all, even from our own people, why do we got to have all these barriers to get what's our just due? Reparations in the form of cash payments would help every Black American. You say, who get it? Black Americans. You could trace Black Americans all the way back to the 1870 census. That's even in California. They say you had to go and trace your ancestors back. Not because you Black, you get it. No, you have to be a Black American, or you saying earlier, foundational Black American. I don't like that talking about student loans or giving it back. I mean, if you really want to go on the give it back thing, okay, fine. Anything you do in America, you're giving it back. You pay the light bill, you're giving it back. You pay your taxes, you're giving it back. Now, if you don't want to give it back, take your reparations, go to the continent, go to the Caribbean, etc.
I just want to jump back before we get on. People think I want to go on the payment, right? Now, in regards to long-term planning and long-term benefit, I just want to hear what you have to say. If I give you $20,000 and you just spent it, you're most likely not spending it with Black people, realistically, right? You're not spending it with Black people. It's going back to the same person we have an issue with, the same system, and you're back at square one. Me personally, I'm not discouraging the payment situation. I just wonder if it's a better approach in regards to implementing things that would benefit people for generations to come, compared to the one-time payment. That's what I want to be clear about.
Let me start off by saying this. My payment, my choice. If I want to go drink up my payment, that's me. But not everybody is going to do that. Like, we are responsible for ourselves. If we are given a reparations payment, then okay, you got your reparations. If somebody squanders it, that's their business. But what if people get together and say, we're going to create an institution, we're going to create a business? Do you know the majority of Black businesses can't get business loans? So let's say if they get their reparations payment, they would inject capital into their business, right? Where they can hire more Black people, right? For instance, you give me a bunch of money, I'm not going to go trick it off. I'm going to say, okay, let me invest it here, and I can hire more Black people, which actually helps the community when you hire more Black people to do a job. So not all of us going to trick off our money.
No, I understand that. And I want to jump back to what I said earlier. With the conversations, I don't hear or see preparation of what to do with the money, because we have to acknowledge the majority of people they don't know what to do with money. And in regards to this collective use of the money, we have to first have an organization to disperse this money in the ways that you said that's beneficial. But people need to be trained and kind of be educated to put their money in these institutions so the collective can benefit.
Are you trained how to spend your money?
Yes, I am.
You're trained. Okay. But prior to you getting trained, when you was a child, maybe your first job, were you trained with money back then? Okay. Well, not everybody has the same education level. And if they want to get that financial literacy, they could take their reparations money and go pay and get that financial literacy. We all at each different levels. I'm not going to sit here and tell a black person what to do with their reparations money. First of all, it's not my business what you do with your reparations money. I got mine, you got yours. Now, if you want to go trick it off, go do it.
So what I'm hearing is with this reparations argument, it's not a collective benefit. It's basically an individual thing. Individual people should just receive a payment and do as they please with it.
No, it's not individual. It is our lineage of people as black Americans getting our just due with reparations. Now, I will say this, in a perfect world, I will say reparations in the form of cash payments, anti-black hate crime bill. I would say an auditing of every financial institution on top of that to look at their discrimination policies they have been doing in business loans and home loans. So black Americans' home ownership only went up a percentage point even from the time of the 1960s. So that means we're still being heavily rejected. I mean, so many things that we can do on a institutional and systemic level, but the cash payments have to be first because our people are suffering out here, and they're suffering because they don't have any money.
But would a one-time payment end the suffering?
Well, one-time payment in the suffering, I would say no, it will not end your collective suffering, but for some people it would end it.
What would a reparations payment look like for black people in America on an individual level? I'm not sure.
Experts are saying about 17 trillion. They say that the United States really made off of slavery. So that, I mean, you can throw a wild number out there. If you gave somebody $100,000, $200,000, right? That alone would change a lot of lives in black America. There are people who are renting right now would take $100,000, $200,000 and go buy them a home for their family. There are homeless people right now who are black Americans who just really need help, could take that money, get up off the streets. You know what I'm saying? On top of our black businesses, it's something a lot of us can get together if we want to build schools that we need. We can build neighborhoods, grocery stores.
And that's why I'm going back to the original argument.
Yeah, but I'm saying is, but I get what you're saying,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
that is the individuals to get together to use that, or you can't get it unless you have that. I mean, because beyond with you, we should be doing that now. We shouldn't be waiting for no
apologize
payment.
if it's coming if wrong. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't get the payment without the education process. I think that needs to be done prior to if anyone's going to get any money, because it's going to be a waste of time if it's not done. And it's not going to benefit long term. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I go back to what I said in the beginning. The Japanese wasn't put through no education financially to get $20,000.
I understand that, but
why should we?
Hold on, this is the thing. I'm not talking about them getting the $20,000. I don't know what was done with the $20,000. I don't know how long it benefited them. I'm talking about in regards to a long-term plan. I'm talking about a long-term plan with long-term benefits.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. And I agree in a lot of ways that we shouldn't just basically squander money.
We need more preparation.
We shouldn't squander money. But it goes back to you shouldn't squander the money you have now. You should be preparing now.
But people don't have the money. You just said they need the money. A lot of people don't have the money.
Yes. No. You can prepare if you want to get financial literacy. There's a lot of free information out there that you can get. Right now, you can go listen to audio books on Audible, and you can there are people teaching financial literacy every day, even on YouTube for free. So if you want the information prior to you getting any kind of money, whether it's reparations or even your next tax check, you can get it. So it's on the individual to educate themselves.
What's the next step then if we're starting there?
Anti-black hate crime bill. We got to have that. They did one for the Asian community with the COVID-19 bill. They had no problem. Black Americans lead as victims by every FBI statistic as victims of hate crimes. We need to have that. I talked about that.
I'm glad you're here because I have a better understanding of the reparations argument. So the reparations is not necessarily for a collective financial benefit. It's just a payment that you deserve for past injustices.
Yes, we deserve that. It's no different in any court. If someone commit a crime against an individual, right? Let's say if I committed a crime against you, they say the judge say, okay, Phillip, you're going to pay restitution to you for X amount of dollars, right? They do that in court every day, restitution. So we need our restitution, or better known as reparations.
No, I understand that. It's just like I always had the impression that the demand for reparations was for a collective improvement, not just for an individual payment.
No, it's for the injustice that happened to our people, and they're paying a restitution or a reparations for those for the injustice.
The receiving the payment would be used for a collective benefit, not just an individual.
If a person wants to do that, if a group of people want to get together and build, like you say, a community, grocery stores, hospitals, we need all that, and we're gonna have people that will do that. But if a person don't, I don't condemn them for that.
All right, can you continue on the crime bill?
On the crime bill?
Not the crime bill. You just said the
I say we need an anti-black hate crime bill.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, anti-black racism needs to be condemned even on the federal level. Just like they deal with bills about anti-Asian, anti-Semitism, things like that. We need that because if you get an anti-black hate crime bill, and if somebody put a hand on you and it says, okay, you did this under the guise of anti-black racism, and even if it affects even what the cops do to people at times, right? That is making sure that we're protected, but they never advocate for an anti-black hate crime bill, even though they got the federal data to back up why we should be protected. They have it. I mean, that's why it floored me to watch Biden sign that bill, because every time, when we want something, it's always, well, it's black and Asian, black and LGBT, black and this. But when it came to their community, it wasn't no, hey, let's add the black people. And the Congressional Black Caucus all voted for that bill, but yet they did not stand. Not one of them stood up and said, hey, wait a minute. Black Americans are the #1 victims of hate crimes in this country. We need to add them to this bill. Nobody advocates for us. And we just got to have that on top of the reparations that you was talking about. We got to have money, protection, and also we need to make sure to buy land.
Are there any strategies people are speaking about in regards to the acquisition of land?
Land is always a touchy subject. First you got to have the money, right? And then when you get land, you want to make sure that it's a good situation. You got to watch, the taxes. You got to watch so many different things. But I think that's more so on an individual basis when it comes to land. 'Cause land equals wealth. Real estate equals wealth. So you want to have some sort of wealth to pass down to your children. So you always want to get that. You don't want to just get a bunch of money and blow it, right? So that's part of what I would say be great for us. If those of us get together and buy land and then build, up, neighborhoods, schools, grocery stores, hospitals, clinics, our hair salons, nail salons. Let's build on our own like we did in Black Wall Street.
All right. And last thing with the reparations, I also hear this argument in regards to who should receive the money. Foundational Black Americans, FBA, versus, I guess, basically if you're a first generation African or a Caribbean person, you should not receive reparations. That's their argument.
That is the argument, because can you trace your ancestors back to the 1870 census? I can. Can you trace yours back? That's the question.
No, I'm asking you, is that the
argument? I'm just saying that if you can trace your ancestors back to the 1870 census, I'll trace mine back. Then your family members were here as slaves in this country. It's for slavery here in this land, not for racism, not for discrimination. It's for slavery. Just like in the Caribbean, I'm all for you going after the French. I'm all for you going after Britain, right? They need to pay reparations over there, right? And I will support that. But when we come to reparations here, we're talking about our ancestors for Black Americans, slavery. I don't personally see how people that immigrated here want to get in on reparations. Like what's the logic in that? I'm trying to figure that out, because I don't have if someone in the Caribbean got reparations from France or Britain, I'm not part of that. I'll be happy you get it. I'll be celebrating with you. But I have no ties to that slavery at all. So how would I, as an American, go into a Caribbean nation and demand, well, I should be getting it too? Because no, I don't deserve crap. But in America, it's totally different. And let's call it what it is. I'll fight in America everything we fought for our African brothers and sisters, our Caribbean brothers and sisters, those who came from Latin America, those brothers and sisters. If it wasn't meant for our collective fight, At one point in time in this country, they didn't want none of y'all here. They didn't want nobody here. They only wanted people here who were white. Now, after the 60s, going into the 70s, if you start looking at it, that's when you start letting people in, right? And people that came in here, they did very good for themselves. And I'm happy you brothers and sisters did very well for yourselves. I'm very happy.
I just have a question, right? And please correct me if I'm wrong. You refer to y'all and brothers and sisters as if there's no connection.
Well, we are different ethnic groups, though. We are. A Jamaican and a person from Ghana, they're different ethnic groups. We are the same, are the same people, right? But we have different ethnic groups.
Explain.
Well, it's like Jamaicans have their history. Black Americans have our history. And Jamaican history and Black American history is very, very important. Ghanaian history is very, very important.
So is it a different ethnic person, or is it a different culture due to the place in which they resided? Because the origins could be the same. They just got dropped off in different places. So they developed in a different culture.
I mean, now transatlantic slavery was different in every area, but everybody built their own culture. Like us in America, we were literally stripped of everything.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Culture. You said ethnic in regards to it's like a different ethnic person.
Yeah, but you think about it. Even we mentioned Ethiopia earlier. They have 80 ethnic groups in Ethiopia, and they would tell you, I'm Amhara, I'm Tigray. They'll tell you all that. They won't say, "Oh, we all the same." On the continent, they big about that, right? But it seems that it became a problem all of a sudden when Black Americans said, "Okay, fine," because so many times we had the collective black mindset. We all black. We all black. We all black.
That's what I'm asking.
But let me get to it.
Go ahead.
So when you say I'm black, no, I ain't black. I'm Jamaican, huh? I ain't black. I'm Dominican. What are you talking about? Like, I ain't black. I ain't like y'all. I'm Nigerian. Like, so we forever always had the collective black mindset. But when Black Americans said, okay, fine. We are actually the latest group. We late to the delineation party. Let's call it what it is. And now since Black Americans have said, listen, we all family. Y'all are distant cousins. We rock with y'all. We always gonna fight with y'all. But we're going to say, okay, let's focus on building up some things in Black America. You got Caribbean scholarships. You got African scholarships. And I'm not upset by that. I can't get them. But what's wrong if Black Americans do it? Now, it's a problem all of a sudden. I don't understand that.
I disagree. And I'll tell you why. And I take we have different backgrounds. I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, right? Which is I think to this day, it's probably like the second or third most populated Black population in America, but at that time it was number one. I'm not sure how many Caribbean people you grew up around in Texas, but in my experience, grew up around Caribbean people and African Americans, it was a different experience. It was never viewed as this collective from the African Americans. The African Americans were actually very critical of all Caribbeans, and they wanted to distance themselves and not associate with them, especially first generation Africans. It was an abomination for a Black American to hold on. Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
It was the worst thing ever for an African American to associate with an African. Then it was the Haitians. Then it was everything else. That was the pecking order, right? And it's cool. I do hear the argument you're saying in regards to access to scholarships and everything, right? But what I notice now, which I find very disturbing, is I'm not in this reparation thing. I'm off to the side, right? But what I found disturbing is that now there seems to be this animosity and name calling and disassociation, which doesn't help the collective regardless, because now there's a group of people who want access to the reparations, which I'm not knocking, but they seem to be very critical and almost creating this schism with other people. And in reality, we all need to work together to make this thing work outside of reparations. Not saying anyone, I agree with your argument in regards to, for parents here and you not having access to other places. But in regards to interacting with each other now, I think the term, I don't know if it's desperation or it's greed for this reparations, is creating a schism amongst people that should be working with each other and could be doing great things if they actually worked with each other.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. It's also not nice when you hear terms like a kata, or you hear terms like jareer, a bead, and things like that said from people that's supposed to be part of our diaspora, right? Or where you mention, you say, well, used to mention that time Black Americans. I've never, and I've been around plenty of Black folks in my life. I've never heard in my family, stay away from them Caribbeans, stay away from them Africans. Don't go by them. Don't marry them. Don't marry a Caribbean girl. Don't marry an African girl. But yet we hear that constantly, even posted, don't marry them Black Americans. Don't do this. They don't have no culture, but you'll go marry a white man? How, like, wouldn't we be more culturally close than a white man would be?
I personally, I just want to say, as a Jamaican person, I've never heard anyone say, don't go around African Americans.
I'm not saying you.
No, I mean, I'm just saying I've been around.
I'm just telling you that
sounds like social media talk.
No. I've been told this, but then we go to the continent. And you have that issue and problem, right? And the majority of Black folks get along. Trust me, the social media thing, it's social media. The majority of people on the street is not fighting each other. You see, you don't like, oh, okay, you Jamaican, okay, cool. You Haitian, okay, cool. Nobody tripping on that. So I don't really get focused on that. But what I'm saying is, when people try to, even in politics, try to undermine, say, Black folks don't need that. Like, you find out, okay, where do they come from? And they say, oh, he's, from Barbados. Like, why are you speaking against reparations, bruh? Like, you should be supportive of it. So the only thing we're saying is this, right? I'm a firm believer that we all are cousins and distant cousins. I believe we have different family, different ethnic groups. But when it comes to certain things like reparations, I believe that everybody should support it. Let me tell you why. If we get reparations, I believe that Britain going to pay reparations to the Caribbean. I believe France going to pay reparations. I believe that because when we got the Civil Rights Bill, right after that, all the African countries start getting independence. All right, around the same time. So I really think that if you support reparations, then the animosity on some people going to talk on social media because they won't say that to nobody's face. Let's call it what it is. So I don't even get involved with those arguments because I see the arguments on social media or whatever. But at the same time, the only thing we just saying as Black Americans is we just want respect. I can't speak on the past, what this one did, what that one did in that neighborhood. I can't speak to that. I'm from the South.
That's why I wanted to clear it up, what I'm saying? Because a lot of times we speak on things we don't have that direct experience with. That's all.
Yeah, I've heard people say, oh, they called me African booty scratcher. Let me tell you, in our culture, we roast people. Do you know I was called Black African before? I was called Black as Night. No, hold on. In our culture, we roast each other. That's just what we do. And what I've seen is that, and what I know by even going to the continent, roasting someone, they really take offense to that. Like, y'all go to school dressed a certain way, I'm getting clown. My hair not cut, I'm getting clown. Like, my shoes look bad, I'm getting clown. And yeah, if you go to an American school and you come in like in the African continent where you wearing the uniforms and all of that, you penny loafers, whatever, you going to school, that's all you know. And the Black American kids like, what you got on? You going to church or something? What's that penny in your shoe, man? Like, they gonna clown you. And it's like, to me, I've heard these stories many times. And I was even called African booty scratcher before, and I'm nowhere near the African continent.
No, I just want to say I agree with what you're saying in regards to the roasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned this earlier in regards to knowledge of self. Roasting versus having disdain for a person because they're not born in America are two different things.
But those are kids. But let me tell you something. I was a kid at one point in time.
No, we're not just talking about kids. We're talking about adults. So, same way. It's a disdain for Africans from Africa. Like, people don't want to be associated with Africa.
Well, let's go back to what I said earlier. Hold on. Let's go back to what I said earlier. If it was such a disdain, how come I took so many people from my platform to the African continent?
But hold on, Fire. They're like, I don't know, 35, 40 million people. We're talking about the 30 people that you took, right?
I took more than that.
How much people have you taken?
We have taken about to be 120 people. But if they had disdain, but hold on. If we really had a disdain, then I wouldn't even do a tour because I could not get nobody to go. There's more Black folks that love it's more Black folks that love the community, love the Black people globally than the people you see on social media. Like, don't get caught up on that schism of social media.
Hold on, I'm not caught up on schism. I'm just talking about the reality of it. So, all right. So I'll ask you this, right? Mm-hmm. We have Malcolm X and many other people throughout history. They always harped on this self-love, right? And this disdain you have for your African origins. Do we agree on that?
Some people...
Hold on. Do we agree that a lot of people, whether it's Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, Fred Hampton, Brother Malcolm, Farrakhan, Amos Wilson, whoever you want to mention. That was a key to their argument in regards to changing the mind and the disdain you have for your African heritage.
Well, as a Black American, and grew up as a Black American, and even had to get knowledge of self myself.
Yes.
Be honest with you, our lived experience, Africa is not really on our mind like that. We know of it. We, like I said, I grew up in a time period of Sally Struthers and all of that. Anytime I saw the African continent, you also have to understand, we have been socialized to look at the African continent like, oh my God, I don't want to be there.
I'm clearly aware of it. I'm not discrediting anything.
So follow me. So our lived experience in America, all we know is this, right? Like I told you, in 2018, when I was invited, I've heard of Ethiopia, but I've never been. Once I went and saw it myself, my mind changed about a whole lot of things. But some people haven't had that experience. That's why I told you we do these tours to let people get that experience.
I'm quite aware, right? But that doesn't take away from what I'm saying in regards to that. It is there. Like, people have a disdain for Africa.
Well, some people do. You're right. Yes. Let me tell you why.
Saying.
Let me tell you why. Some people do, and I'm at a different level with it. But some people are still collectively angry about that situation. There's some anger there. Because it's not African immigrants, I would say, but it's more so some people would say, why y'all never came back to get us? Number two, okay, you had nothing to do with it. I'm not blaming you. How come, with the exception of Sierra Leone, how come no other African country outside of Sierra Leone, and you have to go through African ancestry to find out if you connect to Sierra Leone, then you can get a citizenship. How come no other African nation are saying, like, the only country I respect that originally did it to their constitution before it was changed was Haiti. If you come here and you step foot here, we'll make you a Haitian citizen. On the African continent, you don't have a single government that's saying, come on back, we got you.
Only thing I'll say to that is, and I hear what you're saying, right? I know Ghana has it. I don't know if it's with America. I know it's with Jamaica.
You're talking about the right of abode law.
Yeah, but hold on.
That is not the same.
I know, I understand, but you have to remember, the question you have to ask is who's running the country. There's still colonial countries at the end of the day, regardless of who the face of the person is. So it's not necessarily an African country that can make decisions that's beneficial to Africa.
So you're saying that all those countries are ran by Black folk, African folk, but white people are controlling it? Is that what you're saying? So basically you're saying the whole continent is controlled by racism, white supremacy? Yes. That's your belief. Okay. I do believe white supremacy have their hand, but white supremacy isn't omnipresent. Like some people believe there is. It is not omnipresent. Only God is omnipresent, right? We're living in the indirect white supremacy. Outside of his indirect white supremacy, it would not, trust me, let me tell you something. When Ghana did the year of return, the reason why so many Black Americans went to Ghana is because of that reason, right? But Ghana, the only mistake they made with that is, okay, year of return, now we're going to have this pathway to citizenship. That would have solidified it. But look how many Black Americans went to Ghana. They still going to Ghana. And that's one country that actually did a reach out and say, we're going to bring some people. Now, what if you have other countries that's willing to say not only a year of return, but we're going to do this pathway to citizenship? I think it should be a 5-year process for citizenship, at least a minimum permanent residency. And then you do that for a time. But if you bring business and different things to the country, I think you should be fast tracked maybe 3 years to citizenship, but at the most 5 years, I think. But you should at minimum get permanent residency. At minimum, it's nothing but paperwork. They can do that. It's not going to cost them a lot of money. If you charge me a fee for my permanent residency, I'll pay it today. If I could be a permanent resident of an African country without going through anything.
Yeah, I just want to go back in regards to the, and I appreciate the conversation, bro. Mm-hmm. I just want to go back in regards to the Africa and the colonialism. Yes, there may be representatives there, and you were saying how white supremacy is omnipresent, but they have a European mindset. A lot of the leaders, so they're already indoctrinated, and that influences their actions. And I think that's one of the reasons that there isn't that connection more on a legislative level in regards to making it easier for people to return, that type of vibe. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. They fear the Western world. Some of them are puppets of the Western world.
They were brought up in that institution.
Some of them are puppets of the Western world, kind of like somebody think the top of my head, Paul Biya in Cameroon. He's always with Macron and all. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. But what I do know from going, the young people is where the change is going to happen. The young people, like your Gen Xers, when we're not so young, but millennials, your Gen Zs, right? They ready. You know, brothers like Julius Malema, that type of brother gives me hope, right? I would love to see him become the president of South Africa. That brother is for everybody, right? For the community and like, trust me, a lot of black people ain't going to South Africa. And I know if I lived in South Africa, I would be part of EFF. That's my people right there, right? But you know, we could look at the bad of it, but also what is on the horizon. You know, what's the good of it too? Because if I focus on all the bad, just in myself personally, right? My personal life. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. This happened, that happened. I never do nothing. I've always knocked down doors, and that's why I believe us as a people should knock down those doors. So I believe with time, and we got to keep going over there and say, no, we need a citizenship, and y'all going to have to do that. And I think it can happen with time. But as you're right, in the current state of these governments, most of them are geriatric. The same problem we got here. Most of them are geriatric. They don't want to do nothing, right? And that's a lot of problem you got over there too. You don't have these people. I don't know what it is about the silent generation and baby boomers. They will not move out the way and let the younger people run these nations. It's like, I don't know what it is with that group. I don't know, but it's the same thing in the continent. 'Cause I got brothers and sisters tell me all the time from the continent, we have the same issue.